First contact's price. The quantum sensors aboard Terra Nova Station picked up the anomaly at 3:47 Earth Standard Time. Dr. Sarah Chen, lead researcher at humanity's most advanced deep space colony, watched as the readings defied everything she knew about spatial physics. The void between stars rippled like disturbed water, and through that disturbance came something that would forever change humanity's place in the cosmos. Multiple contacts emerging from unknown spatial anomalies. The station's AI announced, its usual calm voice carrying an edge of uncertainty. Configuration unknown. No match in database. Sarah's fingers flew across the holographic interface, bringing up visual feeds from the colony's outer defense grid. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. Massive vessels, their surfaces seeming to absorb rather than reflect light, moved with impossible grace for their size. They were beautiful in their alienness, like abstract sculptures given life and purpose. "This is Dr. Chen to Colonial Defense Force," she transmitted, keeping her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. "We have first contact scenario. Unknown vessels, clearly artificial, approaching Terra Nova. Requesting immediate." The first shot came without warning. A beam of energy that seemed to bend reality around it lanced from the leading alien vessel, striking one of Terra Nova's orbital defense platforms. The platform didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist, along with a sphere of space 20 kilometers in diameter. "All stations, this is Governor James Maxwell. We are under attack. This is not a drill. Initiate Protocol Omega. Get those civilians to the shelters." The colony leader's voice carried across all channels as Terra Nova's defenses sprang to life. The colony's defensive fleet, 50 ships of the line, the pride of human engineering, moved to intercept. They were swatted aside like insects, their most powerful weapons barely scratching the alien vessel's surfaces. Sarah watched in horror as ship after ship vanished, their crew's final transmissions cutting off midward. But humanity had never been one to go quietly. "This is Captain Elena Torres of the TDF Indomitable," a new voice cut through the chaos. "All remaining ships, form up on me. Pattern Delta 7. We're going to give these bastards something to remember us by." The surviving colonial ships, 12 in total, executed a maneuver that would have been impossible for any other species' vessels. They linked their shield systems in a way that amplified their strength exponentially, a technique developed by Dr. Chen herself, though never tested in combat. The aliens' next attack splashed harmlessly off the combined shields. For one brief, glorious moment, humanity stood its ground against the impossible. Then the aliens adapted. Their next salvo came from multiple angles simultaneously, overwhelming the linked shields and destroying the remaining ships. As the alien fleet descended toward Terra Nova's surface, Sarah initiated her final protocol. She had designed the quantum sensors not just to observe, but to record and transmit. Everything they had learned about the enemy in these brief, terrible minutes was being broadcast across human space through quantum entanglement channels that couldn't be blocked or intercepted. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen," she transmitted as the station's superstructure began to buckle. "To anyone who receives this, they're not invincible. Their weapons operate by locally altering fundamental forces. Their ships generate gravity fields that can be detected before they attack. We've found weaknesses. Use what we've learned. Make them pay for." The station crumbled around her, but her message, along with terabytes of sensor data, was already racing toward Earth at speeds that defied conventional physics. Her last act would give humanity a fighting chance. On Earth, in the depths of the Lunar Military Command, Admiral David Rodriguez stared at the incoming data with a mixture of horror and cold determination. Terra Nova, humanity's most advanced colony, home to 3 million souls, was gone. But they hadn't died in vain. "Get me the Security Council," he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of the decision he'd already made. "And activate the Prometheus Protocol." Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in facilities whose existence was known to fewer than 50 people, automated systems began to awaken. The Prometheus Protocol, humanity's insurance policy against extinction, was designed to convert the entire industrial capacity of the solar system to military production within hours. As the alien fleet departed the ruins of Terra Nova, seemingly satisfied with their message of superiority, they had no way of knowing they had just started a war they couldn't win. Humanity had always been at its most dangerous when backed into a corner, and now they had something even more powerful than advanced technology. They had purpose. The next time these aliens encountered humans, it wouldn't be a colony of scientists and civilians. It would be the combined might of a species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and its own destructive tendencies. A species that had clawed its way from caves to the stars through sheer determination. Earth was going to war, and the galaxy would never be the same. Operation Steel Dawn. The massive fabrication facilities beneath Olympus Mons hummed with unprecedented activity. Captain Maya Patel stood at the observation deck, watching as molecular assemblers constructed warships at a pace that would have seemed impossible just 3 months ago. Each vessel emerged from the automated construction bays already armed with weapons reverse-engineered from Dr. Chen's final transmission. Production efficiency up another 12%, reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson, her chief engineer. The AI networks are learning, adapting the designs in real time. These ships aren't just copies anymore. They're evolving. Maya nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the blue-white glare of fabrication beams. The ships being built now were far deadlier than anything humanity had fielded before Terra Nova. Dr. Chen's sacrifice had given them more than just tactical data. She had provided insights into the very nature of their enemy's technology. How many completed? She asked, though she already knew the answer. She asked every day, watching the numbers climb. Fleet strength at 300,000 vessels and climbing. We'll hit the target of 700,000 ahead of schedule. Jackson paused, checking his tablet. But that's not why they called you here, is it? Maya turned away from the window, facing her old friend. No, it's not. Show me. Jackson led her through several security checkpoints to a heavily guarded laboratory deep within the facility. Inside, a team of scientists surrounded what appeared to be a floating sphere of absolute darkness. We're calling it the Void Sphere, explained Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the project lead. It's based on the enemy's gravitational manipulation technology, but we've taken it in a different direction. Instead of using it as a weapon, we've turned it into the ultimate defense. Maya watched as the scientists fired various weapons at the sphere. Energy beams, projectiles, even attempts to scan it. Everything was absorbed without trace or effect. How does it work? It creates a localized pocket of altered spacetime. Yuki explained, her eyes bright with excitement. Anything that touches it gets redirected through a higher dimension. Theoretically, it could even protect against the enemy's matter deletion weapons. Theoretically, we haven't exactly had a chance to test it against their actual weapons, Yuki admitted. But the principles are sound. We've also found a way to generate these fields large enough to encompass an entire battleship. Maya's mind raced with the tactical implications. The enemy's primary advantage had been their seemingly unstoppable weapons. If humanity could negate that advantage. There's more, Jackson added. Show her the offensive capabilities. Yuki pressed a sequence of commands into her console. The void sphere began to pulse, and suddenly a nearby testing dummy simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, but removed from reality in a way that chillingly resembled the enemy's weapons. We can't match their raw power yet, Yuki said, but we've learned to speak their language. Every ship in the fleet will be equipped with both defensive void spheres and offensive void lances. But the real breakthrough. She gestured to another scientist, who activated a larger display. The screen showed a simulation of space combat. A human fleet engaged with the alien vessels, but instead of being instantly destroyed, the human ships seemed to predict and avoid the enemy attacks. Dr. Chen's final gift, Yuki explained. She discovered that their gravity manipulation technology creates detectable distortions before they attack. We've developed predictive AI that can read these distortions and react faster than human reflexes. Maya felt a fierce pride. In just 3 months, humanity had taken an enemy's seemingly insurmountable advantage and turned it into a vulnerability. But there was something else nagging at her tactical mind. These void spheres, she said slowly, can they be modified to work as stealth technology? The scientists exchanged looks. Theoretically, Yuki admitted, the same principles that make them absorb energy could be tuned to make a ship virtually undetectable, but the power requirements would be enormous. Do it, Maya ordered. Even if we can only equip a small number of ships, the tactical advantage of true stealth capability would be invaluable. As she left the laboratory, Maya's communicator chirped with a priority message. Fleet Admiral Rodriguez wanted to see her immediately. The message contained only 2 words beyond that. Ghost Fleet. In orbit above Mars, the first wave of the new fleet conducted maneuvers that would have been impossible 3 months ago. The ships moved with an almost organic grace, their void sphere generators giving them capabilities that bordered on the supernatural. But Maya knew it wasn't enough. The enemy had shown at Terra Nova that they were capable of adapting to new threats with frightening speed. That's why humanity needed to do more than just match their technology. They needed to surpass it, to think in ways the enemy couldn't predict. As her shuttle docked with the command station, Maya allowed herself a grim smile. The real work was just beginning. 3 months after Terra Nova, humanity was ready to do more than just survive. They were ready to show the galaxy why you don't corner a species that had turned survival into an art form. The enemy had taught humanity how to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. Now they would learn what humanity could do with that knowledge. Operation Steel Dawn was about to enter its final phase, and with it, the true nature of humanity's response would be revealed. The enemy thought they had struck a crushing blow at Terra Nova. They were about to learn that they had instead awakened something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. The Ghost Protocol. In the depths of Europa's subsurface ocean, humanity's most ambitious military project took shape. Through the thick ice, specially modified ships practiced maneuvers that defied conventional physics. These were the ghost ships, vessels equipped with experimental void sphere technology that rendered them completely undetectable. Commander Kai Chen, no relation to the late Dr. Sarah Chen, watched from the command center as his pilots pushed their ships to the limit. The void sphere stealth systems didn't just hide the ships, they removed them from normal spacetime altogether, making them effectively non-existent until the moment they chose to strike. Ghost Leader to all units. Kai transmitted. Execute pattern Echo 9. Remember, you have exactly 47 seconds before the void spheres need to reset. The ships responded instantly, their movements precise and coordinated. They appeared from nowhere, launched simulated attacks, and vanished again before the defense systems could lock onto them. It was beautiful in a lethal sort of way. Impressive, said Admiral Rodriguez, who had been watching silently from the back of the command center. But will it be enough? Kai turned to face his superior. The enemy's adaptive capabilities are extraordinary, sir, but they can't adapt to what they can't detect. And even when they do detect us, he gestured to the tactical display, where the ghost ships were now executing impossible maneuvers. We're not just hiding. We're breaking the rules they think everyone has to play by. The Ghost Protocol wasn't just about stealth. It was about fundamentally changing the nature of space combat. Traditional tactics assumed ships had to exist in normal spacetime. The ghost ships proved that assumption wrong. Show me the Phantom Strike capability, Rodriguez ordered. Kai nodded to his operators. On the training range, 3 ghost ships executed their most devastating maneuver. They phased partially into normal space, their void spheres creating a quantum entanglement effect. When they fired their weapons, the energy beams existed in multiple planes of reality simultaneously. There was no defense against an attack that literally came from outside the universe. The power drain is massive, Kai explained. They can only maintain phantom strike mode for a few seconds, but in those seconds, they can bypass any known defense. Rodriguez studied the data scrolling across his screens. Casualties. Kai grimaced. The Ghost Protocol's development hadn't been without cost. 27 pilots in the first month of training. The human mind isn't designed to process existence in multiple realities. But we've developed better interfaces, better neural links. No losses in the last 2 weeks. And the psychological effects. We screen them carefully. Daily evaluations. The ones who can handle it. There's something new, sir. The void spheres change them. They see things differently now. Some of them say they can feel the fabric of space-time. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. Should we be concerned? No, sir. They're still human. Just more. Dr. Chen's final data suggested the enemy perceives reality in a fundamentally different way than we do. Now we have pilots who can do the same, but with human creativity and adaptability. An alarm sounded, drawing their attention back to the training exercise. One of the ghost ships had pushed its void sphere too far, creating a cascading quantum effect. But instead of retreating, the pilot did something unexpected. They rode the cascade, using the energy to execute a maneuver that should have been impossible. Who was that? Rodriguez demanded. Kai checked the identifier. Lieutenant Sarah Martinez. She's been pushing the boundaries of what the void spheres can do. According to her, they're not just tools, they're windows into how the universe really works. I want to meet her. Martinez arrived minutes later, still in her flight suit. She stood at attention, but there was something different about her stance, as if she was only partially present in normal space. Explain what you just did, Lieutenant, Rodriguez ordered. The void spheres don't just hide us, sir. They show us the truth. Space and time aren't fixed. They're more like suggestions. The enemy understands this, but they're rigid, predictable. They follow patterns. We don't have to. Rodriguez looked at Kai, who nodded. She's right, sir. Every pilot who survives Ghost Protocol training comes to the same conclusion. We're not just learning to use the enemy's technology. We're learning to understand reality the way they do, but with human intuition and creativity. How many combat-ready ghost ships can we field? 117, sir, each capable of taking on multiple enemy capital ships. Rodriguez turned back to the training range, where the ghost ships were now moving in ways that made his eyes hurt to watch. The main fleet launches in 2 weeks. I want the Ghost Fleet ready to deploy as our special operations arm. Lieutenant Martinez, you'll lead the first strike team. As they left the command center, Kai watched his pilots practicing their quantum maneuvers. The enemy had shown humanity a new way to perceive reality, expecting that understanding to break them. Instead, it had transformed them. The Ghost Protocol wasn't just a military program. It was the next step in human evolution. The void between worlds was about to become humanity's greatest weapon, and the enemy would never see them coming. Not until it was far too late. Breaking the hive. The vast emptiness of the Orion Arm waited silently as humanity's revenge fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. 700,000 ships, their void sphere generators humming with barely contained power, arranged themselves in a formation that would have been impossible just 6 months ago. At their heart, hidden by technology that denied the very laws of physics, the Ghost Fleet waited. Admiral Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the flagship Terran Vengeance, watching as the final ships took their positions. The enemy had been tracked to this sector, a region of space that showed signs of extensive manipulation of fundamental forces. Multiple spatial distortions detected, announced the tactical eye. Enemy fleet emerging. Numbers significant. The alien ships appeared much as they had at Terra Nova, crystalline structures that seemed to absorb starlight. But this time, humanity was ready. All ships, execute Operation Shattered Mirror, Rodriguez ordered. The human fleet split into precisely calculated groups, Each ship's void sphere synchronized with its neighbors. As the enemy launched their first attack, the same reality warping beams that had destroyed Terra Nova's defenses, something unprecedented happened. The beams struck the void spheres and shattered, their energy redirected through dimensional spaces that humans had learned to manipulate. More than that, the redirected energy revealed something about the enemy that changed everything. "Sir," Lieutenant Martinez's voice came through the quantum comm from her ghost ship. "The energy patterns, they're not individual ships. They're all connected. It's a hive mind." Rodriguez watched as the tactical displays updated with new information. The enemy fleet wasn't just coordinated. It was a single entity spread across multiple vessels. Each crystalline ship was merely an extension of a vast consciousness that thought in terms of gravity and quantum states. "Ghost Fleet, execute Protocol Omega," Rodriguez commanded. "Main Fleet, initiate Attack Pattern Delta." The battle that followed would be studied for centuries to come. The main fleet engaged in conventional combat, their void spheres allowing them to survive the enemy's attacks while launching their own. But the real action was happening on a level most humans couldn't perceive. The Ghost Fleet, led by Martinez, slipped between the dimensions of reality. They struck at points that existed in quantum superposition, targeting not just the enemy's ships, but the underlying quantum network that connected them. Each strike created cascading disruptions in the hive mind's ability to coordinate its forces. "Their consciousness exists in quantum space," Martinez reported, her voice strange with the understanding that came from operating partially outside normal reality. "They don't think like we do. They process information through quantum entanglement. That's why they're so coordinated, but it's also their weakness." The enemy, facing an attack it couldn't have predicted, began to show signs of confusion. Its ship's movements became less coordinated as the Ghost Fleet's quantum strikes disrupted its ability to maintain coherence across its distributed consciousness. "All ships press the advantage," Rodriguez ordered. "They're not used to fighting enemies that can match their understanding of reality. Show them what happens when you combine that understanding with human creativity." The main fleet executed maneuvers that would have been suicide against the enemy's original tactics, but now served to further disrupt the hive mind's coordination. Ships phased in and out of normal space, their void spheres creating patterns of interference that turned the enemy's quantum communication against itself. But the hive mind was learning, adapting. It began to shift its consciousness through higher dimensions, trying to escape the quantum disruption. That's when Martinez made a discovery that would change the course of the war. "Sir, the hive mind, it's not just coordinating the ships, it's imprisoning them. Each crystal ship contains a different alien consciousness, forced into the collective." The revelation struck Rodriguez like a physical blow. They weren't just fighting an enemy, they were witnessing a tragedy of cosmic scale. The crystalline ships were prisons, their occupants forced into a collective consciousness that used them as weapons. "Can we free them?" he asked. "Maybe," Martinez replied. "The quantum disruption is already weakening the hive mind's control. If we can maintain the attack long enough." The battle reached its crescendo as humanity's fleet pressed its advantage. The Ghost Fleet, now understanding the true nature of their target, refined their quantum strikes to attack the bonds of forced consciousness while leaving the individual minds intact. Across the battlefield, crystal ships began to show signs of individual behavior. Some stopped fighting entirely. Others turned on their former controllers. The hive mind's perfect coordination devolved into chaos. "This is Admiral Rodriguez to all ships." He broadcast on all frequencies, including ones that operated through quantum channels. "To any individuals trapped within the collective, we understand now. We offer sanctuary, freedom, choice." The response came not in words but in actions. Nearly a third of the enemy fleet suddenly changed course, their crystalline structures shifting color from light-absorbing black to a brilliant prismatic display. They were choosing freedom. As the battle drew to a close, Humanity had gained not just a victory but an understanding. They had faced what they thought was an implacable enemy and discovered instead a cosmic tragedy they could help right. The war wasn't over. The hive mind still controlled the majority of its forces, but its aura of invincibility was shattered. The freed ships, now allies, would provide invaluable intelligence about the hive mind's true nature and capabilities. But more importantly, they represented hope. Hope that this war could end not just in victory, but in liberation. The ghost of Terra Nova would be avenged not just through destruction, but through the freedom of countless enslaved consciousnesses. Humanity had learned to break the laws of physics, and in doing so, they had learned to break chains that bound entire civilizations. Humanity ascended. The coordinates for the hive mind's core came at a steep price. 30 ghost ships sacrificed themselves to penetrate deep enough into quantum space to trace the consciousness back to its source. What they found changed everything. A massive Dyson sphere constructed around a quantum singularity, using the black hole's gravitational force to maintain its grip on trillions of enslaved minds. Admiral Rodriguez stood in the war room of the Terran Vengeance, surrounded by holograms showing the impossible structure. Representatives from 17 freed species attended virtually, their crystalline forms now glowing with individual colors that represented their true selves. The hive mind didn't evolve naturally, explained Kittel, a being of living crystal whose ship had been among the first to break free. It was created by my people, the crystalline architects, as an attempt to achieve immortality. But it went wrong. Instead of preserving our consciousness, it consumed and enslaved us. Then it began to spread. Lieutenant Martinez, recently promoted to commander, studied the quantum readings with eyes that had grown used to seeing beyond normal spacetime. The singularity isn't just powering it. It's the key to its existence. The hive mind uses the black hole's gravity well to maintain quantum coherence across galactic distances. Can we destroy it? Rodriguez asked, though he already knew the answer wouldn't be that simple. Destroy it? No, Martins replied. But we can do something better. We can set them free. The plan that followed was audacious even by the standards of the Ghost Fleet. The entire human armada, now joined by thousands of freed ships, would launch a frontal assault on the Dyson sphere. But that was just the distraction. While the main fleet engaged the hive mind's defenses, a special task force led by Martinez would attempt something never before conceived. They would use their void spheres to enter the quantum structure of the black hole itself. What you're proposing is insane, Kittel said, but there was admiration in their crystalline resonance. To enter a singularity's quantum structure, even if you succeed, how will you return? Martinez smiled. We've learned that reality is more flexible than anyone imagined. The void spheres don't just hide us or protect us. They let us rewrite the local laws of physics. We're going to use the black hole's own gravity to break the hive mind's control, one quantum connection at a time. The battle began 3 days later. The combined fleet of humanity and freed species engaged the hive mind's defenses in the largest space battle in known history. Ships phased in and out of reality. Void weapons carved paths through spacetime, and the quantum fabric of the universe trembled. But the real battle took place at a level most beings couldn't perceive. Martins led her ghost ships into the quantum structure of the singularity, their void spheres allowing them to exist in a space where the laws of physics broke down completely. Inside the quantum realm of the black hole, Martins and her pilots witnessed the true nature of reality. The hive mind's control wasn't maintained through technology alone. It was woven into the fundamental forces of the universe. But humans, with their unique ability to adapt and create, had learned to speak this language of reality. Begin the separation sequence, Martins ordered as her ships positioned themselves at crucial quantum junctions. Remember, we're not here to destroy. We're here to unlock. The ghost ships activated their modified void spheres, creating a cascade of quantum effects that rippled through the hive mind's network. One by one, the bonds holding trillions of consciousnesses began to break. The hive mind fought back with the full power of a black hole at its disposal. Reality itself buckled and twisted as two forces battled for control of the quantum realm. But it had never faced anything like humanity's ghost fleet, beings who had learned to exist both within and beyond normal spacetime, who could think in quantum states while maintaining their individual creativity and determination. In the physical realm, the battle reached its peak as freed ships turned on their former controllers. The Dyson sphere's perfect crystalline surface began to fracture as more and more consciousnesses broke free of the hive mind's control. Martines to all ships. Her voice came through quantum channels that defied traditional physics. Final phase. Let's show them what freedom really means. The ghost ships executed their final maneuver, a reality-bending configuration that used the black hole's own gravity to create a quantum cascade. The hive mind's control shattered, not destroyed but transformed. In its place, a new network formed, one based on choice and cooperation rather than control and submission. As the quantum dust settled, the Dyson sphere remained, but transformed. Its surface now shimmered with billions of individual colors, each representing a freed consciousness. The hive mind itself was not destroyed but changed, reduced to a mere communication network that any species could freely join or leave. We did it. Martines transmitted from the quantum realm. But sir, we found something else here, in the quantum structure of the black hole. Paths to other galaxies, other dimensions. We've barely scratched the surface of what's possible. Rodriguez looked out at the transformed Dyson sphere, at the fleets of ships now glowing with individual lights, at the quantum readings that showed a universe far stranger and more wonderful than anyone had imagined. The Terra Nova colony was just the beginning, he said. They thought they were showing us our limitations. Instead, they gave us the keys to the universe. In the years that followed, humanity became known not as conquerors or destroyers, but as liberators. The Ghost Fleet's understanding of quantum reality led to discoveries that transformed civilization itself. The void spheres that had been developed for war became tools of exploration and connection. And in the quantum realm around a black hole, human consciousness continued to evolve, learning to speak the language of reality itself. The enemy had tried to teach humanity its place in the universe. Instead, humanity had shown the universe that the only true limits are the ones we accept. Terra Nova was avenged not through destruction, but through transformation. The human spirit, that unique combination of determination, creativity, and adaptability, had done more than win a war. It had changed the very nature of what was possible. And somewhere in the quantum realm, Sarah Chen's final discovery continued to echo, showing generation after generation that the universe was stranger and more wonderful than anyone had imagined. Humanity had not just survived, it had transcended.